Welcome to Weathered Questions, where we answer the questions on your radar.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome into Weathered Questions. This is, we're about a month in now to our podcast, and we're really enjoying this and having fun. So thank you for listening and for sticking around with us. Thanks to everyone for all of the positive feedback and for leaving us reviews and subscribing to the podcast. It really does mean a lot to us. You know, we kind of started this as a fun venture, and we're happy that you guys are enjoying that. We being myself, Jan Kaj, former broadcast meteorologist, and my co-host, Kaj O'Mara.
Yeah, I'm starting off as just kind of a creative outlet for us, Jan, and now it's just turning into this thing where, I mean, we had folks from Germany listening. I didn't expect that. And, you know, the other thing I didn't expect, I should have, but I didn't expect it, is the fact that we're already a third of the way through summer, and I don't feel like I've gotten enough done yet. I just don't feel like I've gotten enough done. It was just this week that we got the transportation notice for the busing schedule in the fall. That's way too early.
It's coming back fast.
Man. Come on, man. So yeah, but this has been fun. You know, we're a month into this thing, and it keeps on growing, and we're starting to get some direct responses now from folks and some friends, and even people I haven't talked to in a long time are saying, hey, this sounds really fun and good. So it's been awesome. No question about it.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So thank you again, everyone who has been engaging with us. And if you haven't yet, remember, we're just a quick email away. And one of those questions that we're going to start with today came in through an email submission. So let's get into it. The subject of this one, I kind of chuckled when I saw it. It says more lightning. So we talked a little bit about lightning over a few episodes, and we have one more question. Justin is submitting this on behalf of his 10-year-old son, Leo. So thanks for listening, Justin and Leo. And the question is, does lightning make a sound? How does it make a sound? And is it a gas, liquid, or solid? So you want to tackle one of those first, Guy?
Sure. I will go ahead and tackle what it's made of. And we are not going to get into the deep physics of anything in this program. We told you that right out of the gate. It is not a solid. It is not a liquid. It is not a gas. It is what we consider the fourth phase, plasma. Plasma. I feel like I'm Dr. Evil in Austin Powers. Plasma. That's what it is. It's not a gas. It's not a liquid. It's not a solid. It is a totally different form of matter, and it can take on various colors as well. The thing about lightning, though, is it's one of those things that it happens so quickly. All we can tell is where it has been before. We cannot predict an exact location of where lightning will strike. We have a great idea of where rain's going to go, great idea where storms are going to go, and especially in 2025, we have a great idea where tornadoes are going to go. Mm-hmm. The thing about lightning trackers and lightning detectors, it really determines where the bolt is. It doesn't forecast it. It's going back in the past. So that's the danger of lightning. But so Leo, it is the fourth phase, my friend. It is plasma.
It is. Yeah, it's kind of an abstract subject, abstract topic, but yeah, not one of those normal phases. So how does it make a sound? Well, what's actually happening, thunder is the sound that comes from lightning. So lightning itself doesn't have a sound. Lightning is the light, that flash, and then thunder is what you're hearing. Thunder is the result of lightning. You cannot have either without the other. Lightning always comes first. Thunder always follows. And what's actually happening is that lightning it's happening so quickly, as Kaj mentioned there, that it is just kind of splitting the air apart as it's coming down from that cloud, or if it's within the cloud, traveling through the air. It's actually splitting the air apart for that brief moment. And the way that I like to explain it is it's essentially that air kind of clapping back together, just pushing back together. So it's that big clap of thunder that you hear is the air rushing back together as it's been separated by that plasma force of lightning.
Yeah. And I mean, it really kind of stems too from just the whole physics of the bolt, because, lightning is ridiculously hot, 10,000 degrees or hotter And what happens is that rapid expansion of air opens it up, just like you said. Rapid cooling brings it right back together. One thing that you and I would do, Jan, at school talks is you get a bunch of kids in a group and you say, how are we going to make thunder today? Well, you put your hands together. That's the bolt of lightning. Once the bolt of lightning strikes, you widen your hands apart, 12 to 18 inches apart. And then all of a sudden you have all the kids clap together. And that is your thunder clap, essentially, that you just mentioned. And one neat thing, too, about thunder is if it's really sharp and quick, that lightning bolt is extremely close to you. So you're in immediate danger at that point, especially if you're outside. If it's a low rumble that takes a long time to get to you, you know that lightning bolt's a little bit farther out.
Either way, when thunder roars, go indoors. That's the rule. If you can hear it, it's time to get inside.
You got it. Absolutely. Well, hey, we've also got another question. This comes to us from Mary in Louisiana. And I'm going to toss this one to you, Jan. And her question reads, hi there. My name is Mary, and I live in Louisiana. My question is, can you still become a meteorologist even if you aren't that good at math? Jan?
Great question, Mary. So obviously you seem to be a little in the know that there is a lot of math in meteorology, which I'm assuming is kind of where this question stems from a little bit. So there is going to be some heavy math coursework if you're wanting to pursue a degree in meteorology. At the same time, though, if you have a passion for it and you have a desire to learn it, you can absolutely do it. There are a lot of supports in place and a lot of people going through that same coursework with you if that's something you want to do. So, if you want to do it bad enough, absolutely put your mind to it. You can do it. I love to see, especially young ladies wanting to pursue science, and I ever want to discourage anyone from doing that, but just know it is going to be a tough go. There is a lot of calculus. Meteorologists actually do have to go through Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, and differential equations. And then in addition to that, like your physics courses and stuff like that, they're going to be calculus-based physics, and statistics are going to be more of that engineering-based statistics versus just a general statistics course. So there is going to be a lot of math in it, absolutely. But if you want to do it, I fully believe in you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to give an example of math as well. And I want to kind of give Mary some inspirational stories, because typically when somebody asks that question, Jan, they're on the fence of,
absolutely,
gosh, I have a really big interest in this. I don't know if I'm that great at math. Let's just ask these two and see what they say. So I want to tell you two stories first. Both these guys went to Iowa State with me. I roomed with one of them. I did not room with the other one, but I roomed with one of them. And both of them had significant struggles in math, freshman and sophomore year. And I'm talking to the point of failing the classes. So they failed the classes. And before we get too deep into this, Mary, I will tell you that both of them have successful careers. One is a service hydrologist for the NOAA, and the other one was a broadcast meteorologist that I worked with for many years. And so they still made it. They just took a little bit different paths. One of them graduated, I believe it was 4.5 years. So it took an extra semester to kind of get things back on track. The other one switched about, I believe it was 1.5 years in, switched over to environmental science and kind of got over into more of a hydrology path, which was also offered at the college. And so he was able to get that and get into the service hydrology portion of the National Weather Service and has been thriving ever since. And so the thing about these things is you cannot grow as an individual unless you get uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. That's what they say. And I will tell you that's absolutely true. And so just as Jan said, if you put your mind to it, you're going to put yourself in a good spot. You don't just get to wake up and point at pretty weather maps on a green wall. As fun as that would be, that's not how it works. And there is a lot of work and there is a lot of math behind it all. But if you also think about what the atmosphere is, right? It's warmer down near the ground. It's colder up top. It's denser down near the ground. It's less dense up top. If you actually look at this in 3D and think about how the atmosphere is modeled, if you have, let's just say, a box of air, a pizza box worth of air down near the ground, even if you raise it to the top of a parking ramp, it has slightly different properties, being that far off the ground, maybe 50 feet versus what you have on the ground. And now you take that into an atmospheric scale. And so that's why people say, why do you need all that math? Well, you need your X, you need your Y, you need your Z. And then, by the way, let's throw some moisture in there, and then let's throw some particulates in there just for the fun of it. So that's why we have all this math that we have to do. But, the other thing about this, Jan, is Mary gave us a two-part question.
She did.
I think we've addressed the meteorologist and math part, but we wanted to tie this, Mary, into our trivia question this week. So the second part of this, as we go to trivia, and we'll give you an opportunity to think about this, and I'll get us introduced here. This is Mary's second part of the question. Very simple, and you're going to have four possible options. What is a haboob? Is it A, a type of precipitation? B, an instrument to measure the weather? C, a cloud feature? Or is it D, a dust storm? Think about that. We'll have the answer for you when we come back.
Picture this, an impressive new front door paired with updated siding, durable, stylish, and your home's perfect first impression. Now imagine your windows, energy efficient, crystal clear, and designed to enhance your home's beauty and comfort. At Hometown Restyling, big dreams become reality, and it's easier than ever with 0% financing for 60 months. Go to hometownrestyling.com for a free quote. Dream big. We'll make it happen.
Today's trivia question.
All right, welcome back. We have your answer to today's trivia question. A reminder, that question today was, what is a haboob? So your answer options were A, a type of precipitation, B, an instrument used to measure the weather, C, a cloud feature, or D, a dust storm. And the answer to what is a haboob? It is a dust storm. And we mentioned that question kind of came sparked off of the second part of Mary's question from earlier. She specifically asked, how are dust storms and haboobs formed? So we'll kind of dive into this a little bit. So a haboob is a dust storm. Not all dust storms are haboobs, though. So they are a much more intense dust storm, not just kind of your run-of-the-mill little whirl of dust that's blowing around. But the name, actually, yes, you're hearing it right. It's a really fun word to say. It's actually Arabic. And so they are more commonly known to happen in those really dry, arid places. So, Guy, you want to take a little bit of a dive more into how they're formed?
Sure. I think a good way to think about this is if you're in a Midwestern climate, East Coast climate, where things are fairly humid, especially in the warm season, you probably aren't really familiar with these. They don't happen that often, but in drier climates, they certainly do. It could be just the way that the terrain is. It could be a sandy, dusty type of terrain, almost like a desert environment. This could piggyback into something else, so I won't get us too far down the rabbit hole on this one, but the desert Southwest has a monsoon season, especially in the second half of summer. And so we know, let's just say, for example, the Phoenix area. It's very dry most of the year. But if they haven't had rain in 60 to 90 days, ground is extremely dusty, and all of a sudden we wind up getting an isolated severe thunderstorm to move over. What happens is that downdraft or rushing downward cool air from the thunderstorm hits the ground and spreads out in all directions. All around the rest of the country, we just feel that, right, as a cool wind gust. And then nothing picks up off the ground because there's nothing to pick up. But in desert climates especially, you wind up getting a whole lot of dust and sand. What happens is the air hits the ground and then it rushes out in all different directions. And just like if you were to take a rock and drop it into a sandy area on super slow-mo on your iPhone, you would see an impact with the rock, and then you'd see what looks like just a poof all around the outside. That's what's going on. The ground's hitting, or the air is hitting the ground. Ground then causes the dust to go in different directions, and it looks like a wall. I mean, it looks like a wall of dust, and it can come into a town very quickly. But that's what's going on here. It's really just the downdraft of a storm. It doesn't really come with rain all that much. It doesn't have to. If it does, it gets really, really ugly. I mean, you're going to need a car wash after that. But, that's how that works. That's how it works. And I'll tell you, we really don't get them much in Iowa. Midwest doesn't get them often, but
no, I've never experienced
Chicago did have one this year where it was a very fast moving, it was a line of storms, and we had a whole lot of wind out in front, and that part of the state hadn't had rain in a long time, and crops weren't up, obviously, and so it was still very dusty. And so there are times, sometimes in late fall, sometimes in early spring, when we don't have agriculture up, that can happen.
Yeah. And if you're wanting to see it, just, Google some pictures. They are pretty intense, very, photogenic when you can get them from far away and see kind of the city skyline with that wall of dust. But yeah, definitely an intense storm moving through when those are happening. All right, let's move on to our next question for today. This one coming in from Ray in Elko, New Market, Minnesota. And he asks, when meteorologists say there's a heat dome over the Midwest, what does that mean? What causes it? And what makes it go away? So Ray's definitely been watching some weather forecasts here recently, because that's been in the news a lot here over the last several weeks. Kai, you want to take a stab at that one?
Hot dome. Well, here's what we wound up. Let's just go right back to junior high and high school sports. When we've got soccer balls rolling around in the car, we've got footballs rolling around in the car, and let's say we have a cold morning at practice. What happens? Everything's deflated. Everything needs air. And then all of a sudden we get to a hot practice or hot game, and maybe the football is overinflated. Maybe the soccer ball is overinflated. So what's going on at the very core? Hot air takes up more space. Cold air takes less space. Warm air is less dense. Cold air is more dense. So if you have a hot dome, literally, if you look at the atmosphere from a 2D slice, you literally have a dome of warm air going on. And it's because from the top to the bottom of the atmosphere, that entire area, what we call the thickness, is warm. And so the thickness is higher as a result. And so you wind up getting a large dome to form. There's a number of reasons why this is a problem. These domes are usually prolonged. They take some time. And really, to get these things to go away, you need some sort of large-scale air mass change to happen. A lot of times in the country, it's in the form of a strong cold front, because remember, even though we've got big, thick air sitting there, it still doesn't really have the density to go against a larger, colder air mass that eventually comes out of Canada to sweep it away. But these hot domes can stick around for 5 to 7 days if they're severe enough. But typically, right around the outside of the heat dome, that's when you wind up getting some really vicious thunderstorms. In fact, Friday, June 20th, there was a derecho that went through North Dakota, and it had winds over 100 miles an hour, and it was right on the outside of that really hot weekend we had back in June. We had a widespread 90s. So the heat dome not only just fries you from the ground, but also creates usually some violent weather right on the outside of the dome.
Yeah. So like within that dome or under that dome, generally it's going to be fairly quiet. Not that you can't get rain, but you're not going to have the really active weather right under it. It's going to be right around that, that kind of, sometimes we'll call it the ring of fire around that area, which is where things are just able to, heat up enough from under the heat dome, but also close enough to the edge that they can kind of start breaking down with that next moving feature that Kai just mentioned there. So yeah, a lot of fun science there. Kind of gets into synoptics and stuff a little bit with our high pressures and our low pressures and everything. But we already said, this isn't going to be a thesis or a dissertation or anything. So that's your explanation. If you are still looking for more answers on that, Ray, let us know and we'd be happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, thanks again, Ray, for the very practical, very timely hot dome question here. It's certainly been a pretty warm few weeks around the country, that is for sure. We do want to have one more question, though, that came in, and we're going to tie this into our discussion question. This comes to us from Brian in Cedar Rapids.
Hey, Jan and Kai. Brian from Cedar Rapids. Long-time listener. First-time questioner, I think. Anyway, I wanted to know, this is more opinion-based than it is science-based. What are your top 3 movies that involve weather or weather as a main portion of the plot? I'll hang up and listen. Thanks for taking my question.
Oh, that's a loaded question. Jan, that is a loaded question.
It really is. I feel like we should do like a 3, 2, 1, say your number one answer, because I feel like there's only one right answer.
Okay, so I think we should do this because you and I, we're just getting this question for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should do that. And I'll
Okay.
count us down. And if we disagree, that's fine. We're still friends.
Okay.
If
All right.
we agree, though, I know exactly why we're going to agree. So here we go. Ready? We're going to say this after 3, 2, 1. Ready? All right. 3, 2, 1. Twister.
All right, good. Whew,
Yes.
we can still be friends.
Bill, the extreme. Can't get around that. Can't get around that.
No, I mean, that's just such a classic, right? Like, is there any other movie that just screams weather? There are some
No.
that deal with weather, obviously, but like that one is the epitome of all meteorologists' favorite, I feel like. So maybe that was an obvious answer. Hopefully we didn't disappoint you there, Brian. But we still have a number 2 and a number 3 to address. So I'm curious
Yes,
what your
we do.
answers are, Kai.
Yes, we do. Well, and I will flat out admit I am not a big movie person at all. I don't have that many movies. I have not seen that many movies. So I think I've only got a number 2 here.
Okay.
We could argue that there's a number 3, but it kind of gets more into geology. I don't really want to jump into that too much. Number 2, though, I think is a movie called Inside the Storm. I think is what that was called.
I don't think
And I
I've
thought
seen that one.
Well, and maybe I might be wrong on the title, but it was another storm chasing type movie, and
Okay.
I saw it and it was fun, but it didn't really check all the boxes that Twister checked.
Oh, yeah.
And I will tell you, this is like totally off the pace, and like people would think that I'm crazy for doing this. My family went and saw Twisters 2 last summer
Yeah.
and didn't take me along.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I have not. I have not.
All right.
And I
It sounds like we need to do like I think we need to do
I'm
movie
not a
night or
movie
something.
guy. I'm not a movie guy. Well, we need to do
That's
something.
okay.
That's for sure. I'm
So
double
I
checking
tend to
this
gravitate-
title of the second one because just for Brian.
Okay. Just to make sure we're not sending people to a false movie. I tend to gravitate towards the animated movies a lot more,
Fine.
personally. So I don't know if it's cliche to say it, but I am going to say it. I feel like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I mean, come on, right? Like weather meets fun childhood movie. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah.
And another
Yeah.
animated one that comes to mind would be like Ice Age. Again,
True.
doesn't actually
Oh,
really
oh,
deal with
oh.
weather truly.
Okay, so I need to amend my answer, Jan. I need to amend my answer.
Okay, all right, we'll allow it.
Okay, so it was Into the Storm. That's going to be number 2. Into the Storm is number 2. So Twister is 1.
I think
1990s
actually I do think I've seen that one.
Into the Storm was 2014. I remember that.
Okay.
Into the Storm was 24. I knew it was something with the storm. Number
Yep.
3. Now that you're talking about kid stuff, you know,
Opens up a whole new world.
it opens up a whole new world that I didn't think about. I didn't think about Elsa getting all mad at
Ah,
everybody and
Frozen.
freezing the whole town.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Because that's what
Maybe
she
I have to
did.
put that.
She
I
got
might have to put
mad.
that one up higher too.
Everybody froze, and that winds up being a pretty good movie. And when you've got kids at home, you've seen that movie. You can quote it a number of times.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing I'll say about movies, when Twister was out, the thing about it is, it was one of the very first weather movies I ever saw. Thoroughly entertaining from start to finish, and that to me is why you go to the movies. You're going to go to the movies to get entertained. And you know, some folks would say, well, this was wrong, and this was wrong, and this was wrong, and you know, a boat's not going to do that, or a truck's not going to do that. And I said to myself, well, we sit back as guys, watch car chases, and we don't complain about those. We don't complain about, you know, the scene with Sean Connery and The Rock going down San Francisco and hitting the side of a water truck going right through it.
True.
We're just sitting in our seats going, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. That's so fun. But somehow with weather, we're doing that. So I put that aside and said no. But I will tell you, in all honesty, what happened when Twister came out in the 90s, we saw an influx of interest from kids that wanted to actually study meteorology. So I think it was great for the country.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised
if
Twisters does a similar thing as well. So yeah, any new meteorology or weather curious folks, welcome on in. We're here to answer your questions.
Bill, the Extreme. You can still get Twister, by the way, on DVD. If kids know what that is anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure we can find it streaming somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure it's streaming somewhere.
But hey, yeah. But Brian, I hope we answered your question. That was kind of a long-winded discussion, but it kind of gets you an idea of where our minds are for sure. But this has been a great episode. We've answered a lot of questions, and we're so thankful for those folks that have submitted questions. We're so thankful for those that are listening. We appreciate you. We appreciate every one of you, and thank you so much for being with us. We want to let you know that if you got a question for us, please drop us a quick email. Many of you have at weatheredquestions@gmail.com to join in on the conversation. Until next time, see you next week.